Now that we've done mixed numbers and improper fractions, kind of going back and forth, we're going to do some word problems that require you to use these skills. So buckle up and get ready to read. Now we're going to do some word problems so that we can use some of these fraction skills that we just went over. So if you would take a moment to read the problems, try to do your best work solving these problems, and we'll go over them together. So the word problem is Jahim and Precious went to the public library one Saturday morning. They planned to read books that day and borrow books to read during their holiday break. Number 1, Jahim checked out books about robots and superheroes. So I'm just going to underline Jahim. There were 20 books on robots and 4 books on superheroes. He chose to borrow 7 books on robots. What fraction of the books on robots did Jahim borrow? So I am going to go ahead and put a box around what I have to answer so I don't forget. And I keep that in mind. We need the fraction of the robot books that Jahim borrowed. So, as you can see, when I look at a word problem, I'm going to look at numbers. I want them to stand out. And I look at people. If I had more than one person, I probably would have used another color marker. If you don't have that, like when you're taking a test or whatever, find some kind of system so that you can keep them straight. So maybe if there was another person, instead of doing all the squiggly and the circle and the underlining, I would probably with Jahim underline him, circle his number, and just underline the other stuff. And with the other person, I'd probably use the squiggly instead of the underline, just so I can keep it straight. You find your system. Right now, that's my system, okay? So what we know now is that there were 20 books on robots and that there were 4 books on superheroes. Now, of the robot books, Jahim, he got 7. And they want to know what fraction of the books on the robots, these books here, did Jahim borrow? So how many? We're going to make it a fraction. So with a fraction, you have a numerator and a denominator. So the numerator is going to tell us the total number of parts that you have in all. And in this case, it's going to be books on robots. So how many books on robots do we have in all? We have 20. So over here, we're going to go ahead and put 20. That's how many books we have in all. Now, because they want to know how many books Jahim borrowed, that's going to be our top number. So how many books did he borrow? 7. And there you have it. There is your answer right there. So the most important thing is that you're able to look at something like this and pull the necessary information out of it. Know the numbers. If you just have to list all the numbers, that's fine. But if you don't write anything when you're doing math, it makes it more difficult to solve the problem when they give you a bunch of information. Okay? Now let's move on to number 2. Precious and Jaheim found a book on famous inventors and the 25 most important inventions. The book had 150 pages. Precious and Jaheim read 40 pages. So let me go, I'm going to use a different color this time. So we know this is just talking about Precious and Jaheim. So we're just going to, instead of coloring everything up, we're going to go straight to the books that they're talking about with the numbers. The book had 150 pages. Precious and Jaheim read 40 pages of the book. And the question that we need to answer is what fraction of the books did they read? So I'm going to go to the bottom and put my numbers. That's what we took out of the problem. So now we look at the question, what fraction of the book did they read? So we know that a fraction has at the bottom, the denominator, the total number of parts. And in this case, the total number of parts are going to be pages. So the total pages is 150. And since they want to know the fraction of the book that was read, we know that they read 40 pages. So we're going to put 40 up here for the number of pages. So this fraction represents how many pages, how many of all of the pages they actually read. Okay? And that's how you solve that. I hope that worked out well for you. If it was a little tricky for you, keep trying, do more word problems.